Hello, everybody. Welcome in to the NBA Front Office Show. It's Friday. You know what that means.
Front Office Friday! It's my birthday edition.
Happy birthday edition. Keith's birthday. Keith, you are turning 27 years old
Yes.
today. Big
yeah,
congrats.
approximately. Yeah, sure.
Big
I like
congrats.
that math. That's
Yeah.
creative math. Yeah. No, it's been a great day so far. We're having a good day. Got a good breakfast, got a good lunch in, and now just gonna hang out, talk some ball with my buddy and all of our viewers and everybody hanging out. We're gonna have a good time.
Keith, I think the important thing everybody wants to know is was Spider-Man a worthwhile birthday present?
Yeah, Spider-Man was really, really good. It was my favorite of the Spider-Man MCU movies. Probably my favorite of the Spider-Man movies, period. Really, really enjoyed it. It had a lot of heart. It had some really funny moments. It was really good. No, I'm not really 27. Gotta be the worst looking 27-year-old on the planet. That'd be rough. So but Spider-Man was awesome. I highly, highly, highly recommend it.
Do you feel your age?
Sometimes.
Like internally, does your brain tell you? Or does your brain? My brain thinks I'm younger than I actually am.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Who's younger than I am?
Yeah, I only feel it when I go to do certain things that were like very easy tasks when I was a younger person, and not so easy tasks now. So yeah, that's when I feel it. But yeah, mentally, I feel like I'm like 20.
Right.
Yeah, I don't think
I you do something and your body's like, no, you're not.
Yes,
no,
exactly.
You're not.
Yeah. Then it's the reminder. Yeah. Sleeping in a hotel room bed for 11 nights in Vegas was like, by the end of that, I felt like I was deep into my 60s, which I am also not.
You're 20, you're like, whatever, give me some concrete.
Exactly.
No problem.
Honestly, I ended up sleeping a good chunk of each night on the floor. Because our mattress at home is a very firm mattress. I have back issues, so I like to sleep on a pretty firm mattress. So I zonked out on the floor each night for a couple hours.
Keith, on the floor, I imagine you curled up with your spreadsheets.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah. It was funny. I had a person once was like, this was at my old Disney job, which we also did a lot of work in spreadsheets, and she got us all, they were very small, but these little blankets, like little, like probably about that big, blankets that were like spreadsheets. And she's like, here are your spreadsheets. So
nice. That's like a first and second apron.
Yeah, kind of.
All right, guys, we're as always, this show sometimes ripe with unscheduled nonsense and all of that, but we're gonna be taking your questions, your comments, so submit those questions and comments in there. You guys direct the show. What do you guys want us to talk about? Let's start here. Jermaine said, saw a post on Twitter with the signing of the Wolves' second round pick. They don't have enough money to sign Kuminga to a taxpayer mid-level. That was the rumor that Michael Scotto had this morning, that the Wolves are also interested in Jonathan Kuminga, but they only have about $6 million to offer. Do they actually have that money?
They do not. They are about $4.5 million under the second apron, by my calculations, which I'm pretty sure are spot on. And the taxpayer mid-level is just over $6 million. That would hard cap you at the second apron, and so they could use $4.5 million, just shy of that, of the taxpayer mid-level, to offer Kuminga or somebody else. But yeah, it's they are tight to it, and that's with 13 players under contract, so they do have to sign at least one more player. But yeah, working under tight margins, and there's not a super easily tradable salary. It's not like they have just move off this guy, with a second round pick or anything, because all their guys are either guys they want to keep or they're guys that would cost more than that to move off of.
So then, reading between the lines, what do you make of this morning's Kuminga rumor?
Yeah, I think it's just another team that is, hey, if all else fails and there's not much out there, come play with us. They could probably offer him a starting spot, to be honest.
Yeah, they definitely can.
Yeah, if you come in and let's just say they're like, hey, we'll give you the full 4.5. We can, and stay under the second apron. We'll give you that. You come in, you'll start for us 1 year. rebuild your value and let's see where it goes. And if I'm Kaminga, if it's another, let's say, a month from now, and it's like, man, nothing else is really kind of out there, and Hawks don't want to play ball in a sign and trade, or these other teams aren't offering the Hawks enough in a sign and trade, then sure, why not? I think that'd be a pretty attractive place. I had speculated earlier in the offseason that they might go with Jaden McDaniels at the 4 and start like Terrence Shannon Jr. and maybe Jalen Clark at the 3. But John Krasinski, who's all over it, everything Wolves for The Athletic, not the one from The Office, but the one from The Athletic, he has said they intend to keep Jaden McDaniels at the 3 because they want to make sure he stays matched up with opposing 3s or the bigger 2s in the league and the like, and that it's probably going to be someone else who starts, which is probably going to be Trey Lyles, who they're bringing back, which Trey Lyles, pretty good floor spacing for them. So I think that could work. But yeah, I think with Kaminga, that definitely, I would not rule that out as an option if I was advising him, because I think that's a chance to play for a really good team, play a big role on a really good team, and then let's see where it goes.
Now, I also look at this and say, because there's already plenty of reporting that the Cavs, the Lakers, they're also interested in Jonathan Kuminga and would have bigger contracts than certainly what Minnesota could offer. I could see Jonathan Kuminga being the type of guy, though, that would say, if we're saying the Lakers are somewhere in the 15 million range, and the Cavs are probably going to be in that range too. So we're probably talking, 3-year deal, let's call it 50 million. Maybe it's a 4-year deal. If so, there's definitely a player option on it. Maybe that's up 70 million, somewhere in that general vicinity. I could see Jonathan Kuminga saying, well, that's not 20 million and I want 20 plus million. So I'm just going to take way less on a 1-year deal and I'm going to be awesome next year. And I'm getting a 25% max next summer. And I could just, given the history with him, I could see that thought process making sense to him, whereas it wouldn't make sense to 95% plus of the NBA population.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I think for Kuminga, somebody needs to be very honest with him and maybe even his representation. And maybe his representation is being honest, and it just needs to be, he has to hear it, is that, hey, those $20 million a year contracts are not going to be out there, and they're not going to be out there a year from now. Like we're better off taking somewhere in the 15 to 18 million a year range on a multi-year deal. And we'll do that over, hey, let's hold out and try to get a lot more money a year from now. But if it really does come down to it, and it's like, I don't want to lock in on a 3-year contract for 10 to 12 million a year or whatever has been kind of thrown out there as well, then I could get it why I would say, no, let me play for 4.5 for a year and play with the Wolves and rebuild my stock even more and kind of go forward from there. So it's not like it's a bad option.
No. Yeah. I mean, who knows? I mean, maybe the Cavs and the Lakers are offering 8 million. We don't, we're assuming they're probably north of that. And there's been some reporting about that, but again, until that actually comes through, we don't know.
And Jermaine checks in and says, but he loses his bird rights though. And that's definitely true. That the thing is, though, bird rights are only valuable if someone's going to pay you using them. And if he's not going to get paid, using them, then I don't think that's overly worth it. So,
well, we do know that he has the power of patience. We certainly saw that last summer. So who knows how long this is going to drag out. Our next question says, can we trade Dalton Connect to Wendy's for a 4-for-4?
Well,
I don't know about
that. Talking?
Yeah, what are we talking about? The double stack with bacon on it and all that kind of, probably not, but like the miniature chicken sandwich, maybe you can get that one. Not the there's the one 4-for-4 that's like it's like $6 or so. You're probably not quite getting to that level. But
yeah, remember when it was really a 4-for-4? Like it was 4 for $4.
Yeah,
I was thinking the other day we got my daughter could live off Taco Bell. And she's like at that age where like we all lived off Taco Bell for a period of time.
Yep.
And it's one of those things where I was like, man, like Taco Bell, if I rolled up with $10 at Taco Bell, I ate like a king.
Yep.
Like it was like, here's a feast of multiple tacos and all kinds of stuff. So yeah, now you can't do that anymore.
Oh, I still remember back in the day, back when I was, before I could drive. So when I was a little lane, a little teenager, right? I had a Taco Bell close enough to my house that I could walk to it, and I could go get 3 soft tacos for $1.91. And so it was just a matter of scrounging up enough change around the house to be able to go and get that deal. And then I can get myself lunch at Taco Bell if I wanted those.
Back in our day.
Back in our day, yeah, way back when. Hell, there were even during the Great Recession, there were some great fast food deals that came out. Anyway, Andrew said, non-NBA question, Keith. Are you happy with the new Leeds United signings? And Trev, did the World Cup get you any deeper into football? And yes, I said football. The world decided. Front office Friday. Let's go.
Yeah, I'm extremely excited. Leeds added Harry Wilson, who's a pretty good he's probably going to play as a forward or a striker for Leeds, maybe even a winger. I'm really excited for him. They got, I'm not going to try to pronounce his name. It's actually the guy that Flo Balogun cleated and got the whole red card.
Right.
Yeah, he's a big center back, so I'm really excited that he is in the fold. And then and then they're adding a goalkeeper named Trafford from Manchester City, which I'm really fired up about because goalkeeping has been, let's just say it's been an issue for Leeds for a few years now. So I'm pretty excited about that. What about you? You're part of this.
Yeah. Has it gotten me any deeper into it? No, it has not. It's not so much I'm not interested. It's I don't have time. I have no room on my plate to add anything else to it. Between what I'm already doing with, obviously with basketball and everything else that we have going on. So I just have not had time to get into football any further. And if I do, I would probably revert back to paying more attention to MLS, not because of I know people go, MLS isn't any good, blah, blah. Look, I grew up on MLS. I had the LA Galaxy, their training center was about a mile away from my house. I have somewhere around here, I've got a signed poster with Mauricio Cienfuegos and Kobe Jones and Eduardo Hurtado, El Tanque, Jorge Campos, all those guys on it. So it would be more of a nostalgia type thing for me. But I've not had time, even as we've gotten a little bit deeper into the NBA offseason. Maybe in August and into September, maybe I'll have a little bit more time, but it's been a time constraint problem for me.
The fact that the Premier League is on first thing in the morning when I get up on the weekends is the only reason that I stay locked into it at all, is because it's great in the mornings when I'm watching games. Those I'm almost always watching on the computer in the morning, the ones I didn't catch the night before. It's great to have the Premier League on. It's awesome because it's kind of like baseball in the sense of it. The crowd tells you when you need to look up. So you just kind of, you can somewhat half watch, but when it's Leeds, I stay pretty locked in on the Leeds games now because I just get super into it. And it's fun to have, with basketball, I get very wrapped up in the games, but I don't get passionately oh my God, the team's not winning or, whatever with that, with having Leeds in my life. They've kind of become that because I don't get to watch all the Patriots games anymore. And hopefully I never go back to the way I used to be about the Patriots because I was a completely miserable idiot for a long time. Even for a team that won a lot, I got very spoiled and I was a brat whenever they lost. So that was not a happy person to be around.
All right, let's go hear from Teddy. Said, have y'all heard about the rumors surrounding Drew Holiday buyout and his potential return to Philly?
Yeah.
Any fire to that smoke? I haven't seen any. I don't know where these rumors are coming from.
Yeah, I saw this on a Philly fan thing and not I don't think it's a real thing.
Makes no sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I do not think this is a real thing.
I just don't understand why would Portland even entertain that?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense for Portland to do anything like that. We missed a couple, so I'll go back and grab those because I think they were in here early. Okay. Jermaine, Laravia connect in 2 seconds to the Bucks, 1 second to the Hawks. Sims and Kuminga at $16 million to the Lakers. Trev, would you do it? Keith, does either team say no? So you can go first on that one.
Okay. So, and I'm glad you're able to grab it because I actually cannot see those. Laravia connect in 2 seconds. To the Bucks, my first thought was the Bucks have a roster crunch of their own. They've got too many players under contract. So are they wanting to absorb salaries? I mean, if you're the Bucks, if it's Jericho Sims going out though, and your net is 2 expiring contracts in LaRavia and Connect, and you're getting a couple second round picks for it, it's not a bad thing for Milwaukee. Sure. And I'm probably a little higher on Jake LaRavia than most. I don't think he's a guy that's just awful. And if I look at the course of his career, he's been an okay 3-point shooter. And I think there's a world where he bounces back and we see that 3-point shot come around again. And if that's the case, I think he's perfectly fine on the deal that he's on. A second to the Hawks, Sims and Kuminga at $16 million to the Lakers. Would I do it? So all of this a roundabout way to land Jonathan Kuminga, and then you're getting a backup big in Sims. Yeah, I mean, we've kind of looked at it as though there would have to be some type of salary going out, whether it's Jaden Hardy or Jared Vanderbilt or someone like that to land Kuminga. If the price ultimately for Kuminga is Connect, LaRavia, a couple of seconds, you're probably not going to say no to that, especially if you're getting him on a deal that, if we're talking about Sims and Kuminga combined at $16 million, that's an easy yes, just because you're low enough on salary. But Kuminga started at $16 million. I think I'd be fine with that. And Jericho Sims at least is another guy that Luka would have a hard time overthrowing in terms of as a lob threat. So I think I probably would go ahead and do that. The Hawks are getting a second here, and I would assume a trade exception. Is that enough for Atlanta? At least they're not absorbing any salary based on what I can see. So a trade exception and a second round pick for Kuminga. How much interest do they really have in bringing him back? If it's not as much as what's reported, if that's mostly smoke, then maybe I guess they can look at this and say, hey, we're getting something. We're getting a $16 million trade exception and a second round pick for a guy that we don't really want. But that would be a question mark for me too, is what does Atlanta really want with Kuminga? Do they see value in bringing him back on a 1-year deal? And if not, then this certainly makes some sense.
Yeah, I think the Hawks side is fine. In general, like you said, if they're not bringing Kuminga back, sure. Like you're getting a second and a pretty good sized TPE for essentially nothing but facilitating. So good on them. Lakers side, I think this is fine value. I mean, you're now down to nothing left to trade draft pick wise, minus that one swap right. That I think that's all they'd have left. So you're kind of in a spot where, okay, but your roster's pseudo finished, I guess, for now. So I don't have a huge issue there. I think the problem is the Bucks side. You're taking on 2 for 1. This is a team that already has 17 guys under contract for 15 spots. That's already a problem. I don't know, that they want to add one more guy to that list. And that's kind of a good roundabout way into we're not getting light on places to dump players to. But like we got to start looking at the roster spots and the guaranteed contracts for some of these places, because like Milwaukee, even though they're rebuilding, they're 8.9 million under the luxury tax. Well, in this, they take on about $8 million. I don't know if they want to be that close to the tax just to have to dump a couple guys for seconds. So I think they'd have to be a little more cautious. And then the Nets, earlier today, they finalized the Mo Wagner signing. So that ate up $9 million to the remaining like $13 million in cap space. So they're down to about $4.5 million that they have left to spend cap space wise. So the Nets are they're again not out of things as far as being a facilitator works, but just a lot less than they were prior.
The Nets still have the room exception, right?
They do have the room exception, yeah, 9 million room exception. But just, I know you know this, but just so everybody is clear, can't combine the room exception with like the cap space,
right?
Like that. So
yeah. Okay.
We had a couple more. Let me grab those. I think they were just ones you didn't have here. Where do you think Levine will land? I'm hoping Miami and not Golden State. I don't have a sense he's gonna land at either one of those. I don't know that Levine is going to do a buyout. And if he does, both the Heat and the Warriors, if their Warriors are probably going to be over the first apron, I think. And then the Heat they can't go over the first apron. So they'll at least be okay to sign a buyout guy. But I don't know. And I'm not sold that Levine is going to necessarily take a buyout. And if he does, that would obviously be a post-trade deadline thing.
Well, there was some talk from somebody who covers, I think it was James Ham, I want to say was his name, who covers the Kings, who had basically said that the Kings went to Levine and said, "Look, if you pick up your player option, you're within your right to do that, but we're also within our right to not promise you any minutes, any kind of role whatsoever. We're moving on. You're not part of our long-term future, and we just want to be straight up with you here." And that kind of led to some speculation about potentially a buyout. If he were to get bought out, I think Miami would make a lot of sense for him if he were. Let's say Levine just says, you know what, they're not even promising to play me. All right, if I'm going to be sitting on the bench in Sacramento for the next year, I'll take $6 million off of my salary and I'll go get to Miami or whatever, right? But I also think the other team to keep in mind would be Detroit. Would be a really interesting landing spot. I think that would make a lot of sense. How much does Zach LaVine care about weather? Because we're talking about Miami is fit there versus Detroit, but I think he'd be a great fit in either place if he gets bought out, which I do think is maybe a bit of a stretch to assume that he'd get bought out at this stage of the NBA offseason. But if somehow, some way that did happen, I think both those destinations would make sense for him.
Yeah, if I'm the Kings, I'm doing everything I can to exhaust every possible trade avenue. And not that anybody's like jumping up and down, like, oh, yeah, we want Zach LaVine for $49 million. No, that's not the case. But if you're the Kings, if you're like, hey, we'll take a couple bad contracts, which is what they should be doing in the case of a guy like LaVine, like we'll take money off your books that maybe you don't want as we kind of reset and rebuild our roster. I'd be all over that first before I buy him out. But yeah, maybe this does end in a buyout. And they moved on from DeMar DeRozan already. They're well into the teardown phase. Here is Sacramento, and Sacramento's in a place where they can afford to take on some money next year if they're kind of saying, hey, we're going to be a little bit slow of a rebuild here around Darius Akoff and the other young guys we have on the roster. If they're willing to go a little bit slower, then yeah, why not take on some money? You don't necessarily need cap space next summer. You could pre-use that cap space by moving off LaVine now. So definitely get that. All right, then we had one more. The East is so deep now. I wonder what team will underperform.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly truth to that, especially depending how big of a step back do you think the Charlotte Hornets are going to make? I think they're an important pivot team in the Eastern Conference. I don't think they're going to take as big of a step back as some people do, but nonetheless, they could be an important pivot team there. And then the Knicks, the Celtics, the Pistons, these teams that are going to wind up being certainly in the mix there. But we could now be heading into a point where and who knows, Washington, right? You had Anthony Davis and Trae Young there. They would project to be better. I look at the East, and I think we're now getting to a point where they're going to be similar to what the West has been for a while, which has been good teams not even making the play-in or certainly not making the playoffs. And I think that's for a number of reasons. Part of it is the draft lottery odds, the anti-tanking things, and all of that. But also we're just seeing a lot of growth from these clubs. So who's the team to really drop off? I think, unfortunately, that's largely going to be determined by the big bad injury bug.
Yeah, completely agree. I mean, right now, Detroit will drop off if they can't get something done with Duren. I think they will get something done with Duren. I think that'll get finished there, and that'll keep him in the fold. So I think the top, let's say top 8 feel pretty good. Then we'll put Miami and Indiana in there, I guess would be the picks with then the so really Indiana replaces Charlotte. I'm a little worried for Charlotte. I thought that was a good call out when you said that kind of starting off here. They clearly Milwaukee, Chicago, and Brooklyn will be the worst 3 teams in the conference. But yeah, some one of those teams is going to, above that top grouping, is going to be like what the Pacers were, where it's just injury after injury after injury, and then it all kind of falls apart on you, and you can't make up ground. But I think, I think the East. What's interesting is, I think the top of the conference, it's Thunder and Spurs in the West, and then a whole bunch of teams that are good to like they're okay. And then I think in the East, there might actually be more depth in the East for the first time in I don't know how long. in pretty good teams that in that next grouping. And we'll see how it all plays out, because there's a lot of the assumptions being made there that some of these teams will come together the way we think they will. But yeah, it should be really fun. I think both conferences, and this is part of lottery reform, there are not 3 or 4 teams in each conference where it's like, man, those guys stink. And you just know it today, where it's like, and there seems like, as you said, Milwaukee, Chicago, Brooklyn, they're probably not going to be very good. But there's a difference between not being very good and being like god awful right now today, where it's like, Dad, that's like worst team in the league level stuff. I think all those teams are going to be pretty competitive, and that's awesome. And I mean, how great is it going to be at 7 and 7:30 East Coast time to have actual good games on for most of the year? Like that, that can't be undersold, how important that is when you're just trying to watch League Pass all the time.
This is why when I'm making like projections for teams for next year, for the top tier teams, I'm going to get a lot of pushback. I know, because fans of those teams are going to say, "What? We're going to win less games than we did last year? We're taking a step back? What are you talking about?" No, it's because the teams in the bottom are now going to be trying in February and March and April. And that doesn't mean that the top tier teams shouldn't beat the teams at the bottom. They absolutely should. But you're much more likely or almost guaranteed to beat them when they are trying to lose games compared to trying to win. And I think teams will be trying to win this season. So I think that is naturally going to depress some of the top end win totals, because rather than just get a freebie win because you're playing, Brooklyn or whoever on a random Wednesday night in March, you're going to have to actually go and play a game against a team that's actually trying to beat you. And that matters. So I do think the top tier clubs could actually see their wins drop down a little bit, but that doesn't necessarily reflect a drop in quality for their team. It's just a difference in the dynamic around the NBA. And similarly, we'll also see an increase in the win totals of the bottom tier clubs because, again, they don't have that incentive to lose games anymore. So I think that's something we're going to have to keep an eye on this season as well. If we're trying to compare apples to apples, we have to remember a very different dynamic in the NBA and not just immediately revert to, oh, they won 2 less games than they did last year. That means they got worse.
Yeah, I think if you win 60 plus games this year in the league, that's the massive accomplishment. Like, I think more teams are going to be kind of wedged between that, like 38 and 58 wins. So I'm out that kind of 20 range there. I think that's going to be really kind of locked in there. So I'm excited, man. I know we got months to go here. Well, what does Robert Frost say? Miles to go before we sleep. Miles to go before we sleep. Like, I am but like, man, I'm so excited. Like, should be it should be a really fun season.
It's not August yet.
Almost,
man.
almost.
Brutal. All right. We do need to get to some more of your questions and comments. First, a quick shout out to our sponsor, and that is Prize Picks. You guys can check them out. Use the link in the description down below. The code is HMA. Play $5 to get $150 if you win. Great new promo from Prize Picks. All you got to do is pick more or less on your favorite players. You can go MLB, you can go NFL, you can go WNBA. I went MLB here. You can mix and match as well. I went Andrew Painter, more than 3.5 strikeouts, and Bradley Rodriguez, more than 0.5 strikeouts. You just got to get one. Will you get one in this one? Again, that code, it's HMA. New users play $5, get $150 if you win. Great time to get involved with Prize Picks. Incredible promo that they've got currently. Again, that link is in the description down below, and the code is HMA. All right, Keith, let's get to some of these other comments coming in here. Keith, will you elaborate on your reporting of the Dallas Mavericks? I feel like y'all never talk about the Mavs.
Do we not? I mean, I feel like the Mavs are there wasn't a lot to talk about last year.
That's I think what it is. But you had your West. I will admit I have not yet read through all of it. I did the Lakers portion of it because I included some of your quotes from that for a video for Lakers Nation. But yes, and here is the article up on Spout Track that you wrote. This is all of your intel coming from Summer League on the Dallas Mavericks. Again, having not read through this at this point, what area do you think is being requested to elaborate more on here?
Yeah, so I can elaborate a little bit on, let's start with Kyrie, because that's the big known piece there. anybody I talk to with the Mavericks, and there's a big quote in there about Kyrie, is everybody puts him in rumors and stuff, but they don't want to trade him. And they're like, and he doesn't want traded either. So they feel like he is going to be back. They can't wait to see him with Cooper Flag, and they're fired up for that. So I don't think Kyrie Irving is going anywhere like at all. I think I'm not going to say ever, but that would be silly. But I think right now Kyrie Irving's not on the trade market on Dallas's side. Yeah, could a team blow them away with an offer? Sure, of course. That could happen for just about anybody. As we say, Luka got traded. So, who knows? As Mavs fans know better than most. But yeah, they seem very excited to have Kyrie with Cooper Flag and seeing what that looks like. They are super excited for all their additions. One of the recurring themes was Mike Schmitz being there as their, I think his actual title is general manager. Maybe he's assistant general manager, but whatever his title, he's like number 2 behind Masai Ujiri. They had a very international flavor to their additions this year, including Santi Aldama, who's an established guy. And then in the draft, Sergio De La Rey. They call him Seva. It's their second round pick, Sevichenko. He's a Russian player. He's probably not going to be in the NBA or the G League this year. Will probably be staying overseas. But then they went out and traded for Zachary Risachet. So they seem pretty excited about that. But one of the recurring themes was like Mike Schmitz knows the globe as well as anybody does from his time working for Draft Express. So like there's guys, and then Tark Biberovic, who's coming in. He is going to be an outstanding shooter for them. And that I'm excited. I think watched a lot of his film when I saw he got put into the deal, that big 6-team trade that they made that involved the Grizzlies and others. This guy, like, he just shoots in a lot of different ways, off the catch, spot ups, coming off pin downs, but always, like, how when a good shooter always gets himself square no matter how they catch the ball. Or always they get the upper portion square. That's what he does on almost every shot. It reminds me a lot of who'd you say?
I said Klay Thompson is great at that.
That's exactly where I was going. It reminds me a lot of Klay Thompson.
We're on the same wavelength
almost every time. Yep. So that's, and obviously he's now going to get a chance to play with Klay, assuming he's there. So we'll see.
All right, guys, you can check out Keith's, as I'm going to do after the show. I will read through the entirety of it, but Keith's Western Conference notebook. There's also an Eastern Conference notebook, I believe, that was out about a week ago. Yeah. That Keith put together. You guys can check that out.
I have a lot of notes, general league notes that are at the top on both. So stuff about expansion and things like that, lottery reform. There's some quotes in this one from folks around the league about circumvention, not only with Kawhi, but with the Gary Trent Jr. contract, which became a very large topic of conversation at Summer League. But that's all there.
People were very confused by that.
Yeah, exactly. To go back to Klay too, I know there's all this stuff that like Miami is focused on getting Klay Thompson, and there's been some reporting that maybe Klay and his reps will go out there and try to get a buyout from Dallas, but there's been no real indication that that's like a imminent thing or anything like that. So I think there's just as good a chance that Klay starts the year with the Mavs.
All right, let's go here. Can you talk about the Denver situation? Will they actually go into the second, or are there some trades on the horizon? Denver going into the offseason was one of the most fascinating situations because we knew what a difficult spot they were in financially. And now you add into the whole mess the Nikola Jokic contract extension, where you don't want to make your team any worse and lose players because Jokic has to sign this extension, and now he's not going to for some time. Meanwhile, the Denver Nuggets right now are the only second apron team in the NBA. Now, it is still possible. What's the drop dead for them to get below the second apron?
Trade deadline
this year. Trade deadline. Okay, so they've got some time to do that work if they decide that that's the path they're going to go down. But do you
here's
think
the thing, though. Yeah. They are. Let's do this right. They're about $2 million into it right now, but that's with nothing for Peyton Watson. Yeah. So let's say Peyton Watson. Let's just say it's 20. That's like you're talking about having to find a salary dump of a whole Cam Johnson's salary, Christian Brown's salary to get there. So it's not as easily pulled off as maybe it sounds. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to be under the tax or the aprons until the trade deadline. Now, if you're over the second apron, you can't do as much. But if you kind of look at it, if they get Peyton Watson back, I don't know how much more they have left to do. If you're there, you would have to kind of make one more signing if you want to fill out the roster, and then you just go from there. But I think they'd be mostly done. I think there's a good chance maybe we still see a smaller salary dump like Zeke Najee or maybe Duron Holmes, somebody like that, because those guys I think are going to be surpassed pretty quickly by Marvin Bagley III in the rotation.
I think it'll be interesting to see ultimately what path they go on, because you don't want to lose Peyton Watson here for nothing. Trading him is a bit problematic. There's reporting from Michael Scotto today that Denver doesn't even have a first-round pick on the table for him right now. That's concerning. Now, again,
you have base year compensation issues as well because he's going to get a pretty big raise. I think he's going to be back in Denver. Like I really do. I think.
But is it on the qualifying offer or on a new deal?
Yeah, let's see. I mean, and you know how I feel about this. Generally, Labor Day's roughly-ish when you want to have things kind of done. And I think with Peyton Watson, we could be in a position where what we see happen here is every day and week you get closer to Labor Day, the closer we get to him, just playing it out on the QO. But he's a clutch guy. Rich Paul has taken it deep into things before with guys in this exact situation, and they almost always come out with a deal. So I'm not going to rule that out either.
All right. Let's check this one out. Said D-Rock said more likely Michael Porter Jr., 1-year pay raise or a good trade.
I think now that they've used up basically all of their cap space, they've got about $4.5 million left. I think it's more likely that we see Michael Porter Jr. traded. I'm not going to say now, but by the trade deadline. I don't know that they're going to come to a new contract agreement with him. I think
we were talking about him as a renegotiate and extend candidate, but that's probably out the window at this point.
Yeah, I mean, because you can only give him you could give him what you have left, that $4.5 million in cap space. You could give him that on top of the 40. What's he make? 40, like just under 41, I think. This year. Let me check. 40.8. So you could give him that brings him up to a little over 45, and then you could extend him off of that number. I'm not going to rule that out as the way the Nets go. The Nets roster is now essentially full with the signing of Mo Wagner. They've got 15 guys on guaranteed contracts. So it's not like they need that to fill out their roster with by any means. They also have the room exception, as you said earlier. So let's see. But I think you could get I think what your hope is, he plays well, the team plays fairly well in the first part of the season, really build up trade value, and then he could be one of the best trade candidates out there by the time we get to the trade deadline.
Absolutely. He's a skill set that would fit in a lot of places. Curious, what are Charlotte and Memphis going to do with the roster crunch?
Yeah, so let's see. Charlotte, theirs is a little easier. They did waive Mohamedou Gay yesterday. We knew that was coming. Did you see? Gosh, I can't remember which team he's going to overseas, but the team announced his signing before he was even waived in the NBA.
No, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. And then it got pulled down. So I'm guessing FIBA was like, no, that's not okay yet. He hasn't cleared NBA waivers. So
what you're telling me is that whoever was running the Miami Heat's YouTube channel has gotten him a job overseas now.
Exactly. They the overseas teams really don't care either. So they're so they are +2. I would say the most likely guys to get waived are Pat Connaughton. He's got a non-guaranteed contract. And then I think Dorian Finney-Smith was just a straight salary dump for them. They'll eat the money. Outside chance of maybe they give up on like Tajon Salon. But everybody else, I think, is pretty good bet to make that roster. Either a rotation guy or a young guy on a long-term deal that they want. And then on the Memphis side, Memphis is back to a full offseason roster with 21 players. They are 19 guys on standard contracts, which is a lot. So Taj Gibson seems to be one of the waivers that will come. with that. And then I think it's probably D'Angelo Russell. That's already been
Sure.
rumored. Did you see his post on social media where they were like
No.
D'Angelo Russell's stats were really good in the first month with Dallas, but there was like all kinds of qualifiers, and he was like cage bird can't fly or something that he said. So okay. With that. Then I think
I did not see
good.
that because I am blocked by D'Angelo Russell.
Oh man.
I don't know what I did. Apparently I upset deloading at some point. But
it's kind of funny.
My reasonable, rational takes were
my weirdest one was I got blocked by Jonas Jerebko back in the day when he played for the
Jonas
Celtics.
Jerebko.
And I loved him, but then I found out he blocked every single person and was covering the team at that time.
Wow.
So yeah, I don't know what that was all about, and I'm unblocked now. But I was a big Jerebko fan back in the day. But back to the Grizzlies. So I think Taj Gibson and D'Angelo Russell, those are the easy waivers. I think I'm projecting right now AJ Johnson, who is kind of a throw in a trade. And then I think it'll be Chris Murray will be the other one, just because Chris Murray doesn't make sense on this roster there. And then that allows them to keep Olivier Maxence Prosper, who they really like and have worked with and developed. So, but I mean, this team is just loaded with guys who can play. So I'm very, very curious to see how it all plays out minutes wise, rotation wise, and all that. I've got some stuff in the works. I don't want to talk about it too much yet because I want to make sure I'm going to be able to do it. But I've got an idea on like looking at all the teams, but not just from a salary cap roster building lens, but like an actual on-court lens. Like kind of a best case, worst case scenario kind of thing with some video stuff that I want to clip together. So we'll see if I can get all that pulled together.
I think the Grizz are going to be feisty.
Yeah, I think so too.
They're not going to win a ton, but they'll be a feisty team.
Yep. I think they're going to be one of those teams where they are bad, but it's not in a, oh my gosh, this team's horrific. There's no hope here. It's just going to be a lot of young players and just bad.
All right, let's check this one out. Would the Lakers give up 1 first-round pick for Peyton Watson along with Vando with Zeke swap or reroute? Well, they don't have a first-round pick to give up.
Yeah,
so
swap.
Yeah, they could give up a swap, but that's it. If I were the Lakers, if I could give up a swap and get Peyton Watson, I would absolutely do that.
100%.
But I would also imagine that Denver's probably looking at what OKC did and thinking, yeah, if we're going to trade Peyton Watson, let's send him east. Let's do that.
Let's send him east, or let's get a whole lot more than one pick swap out of this. Like, let's get something. What was it? It was reported as they wanted 2 first. Now it's reported as a good
a notable player or something like that. Like something along those lines.
In a first. So I mean, I always think of it as when we get there, it's like it's the combination of a player and a pick, or 2 picks, or 2 players, or whatever. But yeah, it's I am slightly more now leaning towards maybe he's not back with the Nuggets, and maybe what they kind of do if they're not going to have him is try to get, if they can't get picks, maybe get a couple veteran guys who can actually play in the fold, which allows them to flesh out their depth a little bit more.
All right. Are the Clippers open to offers on Derek Jones Jr. or are the Wizards on Justin Champagnie?
I haven't heard anything specific on either of those guys, but I would imagine the Clippers on Jones. They seem pretty open on most of their guys, but were pretty insistent that like they're not going to be as bad as people think that they may be after. And that's assuming the Kawhi trade goes through and there's not some kind of massive punishments coming. But if you look at it, it's like, yeah, the roster's kind of okay. Like you could see, I think in the West they're going to have trouble just because they're like they'd have trouble in the East as well. Now that the East is going to try, I think it's a fight for them to try to make the play-in tournament, and their lack of depth is concerning because they're like an injury or 2 away from it all falls apart completely on them. And then Justin Champagnie, yeah, I mean, he looks kind of like the odd man out in a group of wings on the Wizards. in forwards where they just have all kinds of guys that can really, really play. I mean, you've got DeBonson, Koulibaly, and Keyshawn George, Trey Johnson, Chris Middleton, Will Riley, Champagny. If Cam Whitmore can get back in that mix, let's see. I mean, that is a whole lot of guys there. So, but yeah, nothing I've specifically heard, but it wouldn't be surprised if either guy ends up getting moved at some point down the line.
There's teams that need wings certainly around the NBA. Advanced Meerkat saw a rumor about Russ to Houston. Hakuna Matata. It means no worries.
Hey, Russ to Houston does not make any sense.
It makes no sense.
Yeah.
I was like, that's the exact opposite of what the Houston Rockets need.
Russ to Miami? Sure. I could see that. They could use another ball handler, creator on the second unit. That one makes sense. But Russ to Houston? I don't know. I'd probably pass.
I know you don't dabble in hot takes, but if you had to pick one top tier team in the East to underperform next season, which team is it? Again, the problem is who gets their butt kicked by the injury bug.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing. But otherwise, who drops? I mean, I guess how far are we stretching the top tier thing? Maybe we could talk about Toronto, just if the Kawhi thing really blows up, and then they're in a little bit of disarray going into the season. Brandon Ingram's grouchy, like that type of thing.
Like Philadelphia, if they have injuries and it just doesn't work, like if it just doesn't come together the way they think. And I also think Philadelphia, because I'm seeing people like they're going to win 65 games. And to go back to our former conversation, it's like I don't know that anybody's going to win 65 games right now because it's a very tough league. But yeah, I think I think with Philly, I think they have a good chance to start slow. And then let's see. I mean, there's a chance Boston is not as good. I think I'm going to trust the infrastructure there that, I think they'll probably be okay. Or like somebody just said Orlando could regress. I mean, maybe there's not far to regress from. They were
right. Can they shoot worse?
Year. Yeah. God, imagine like, boy, that'd be horrible. Detroit too. Like if this Duren thing continues to drag, their depth doesn't come together. Sure. But yeah, I mean, we just named like everybody but the Knicks. So I don't know.
Do you think OKC will be the number one seed for the fourth straight year, or will they drop? I think they will drop, and not because they are getting worse. I think they're not going to care about being the number one seed very much. And I think San Antonio may care a little bit more about getting the number one seed.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I think the Thunder at the point in their arc is a team where they don't need to push for home court advantage. I mean, home court advantage, yes, but like not winning the conference anymore. I think, if it happens, I'm not going to be shocked. But yeah, I think we're now several deep runs in a row for them, and it's probably time to start taking your foot off the gas a little bit in the regular season.
Where do you think Westbrook ends up?
Yeah,
I guess first of all, is he in the NBA?
Yeah. I mean, this could be one where we may see it be where he's like, I don't have anywhere where I like right now. Let's see where it goes. And then we get deep into the season and nobody signs him, and then it just kind of ends. Unfortunately, that's the way a lot of careers do end in the NBA. Is guys they don't have a spot out of the gate to start a season, and then they just hang on, for a long time, and then
the phone doesn't ring.
Never comes. Yeah, and then it's just kind of over. Like Josh Richardson just retired yesterday. I think it was that he put that out there, and that's kind of what happened to him. He was like around and then didn't pick up with the team, and then finally went and played in Spain for a little bit, and then didn't get picked up. But yeah, I mean, what you got to look at is who needs a point guard, right? And there's a couple of teams that could use point guards, or at least a little bit of depth at the position. Miami's the one that I think could actually make sense where he could play a role. The Houston one, I just don't see it. Like I don't know why. Like now you have Marcus Smart and Reed Shepherd, and Fred VanVleet is back. Like and you have Amen Thompson. Like, I don't want to take the ball out of those guys' hands at all. Not for Westbrook, and they're also they don't have any open roster spots and no easy cuts. So yeah, I think they're. I mean that probably feels about right. Like I don't know, nobody else. I'm just kind of scanning the rosters right now, and like no one else is like jumping out at me. It's like there's the team. Toronto would be kind of interesting, maybe. but he doesn't seem like the Raptors kind of guy that they go for. Golden State, that'd be kind of funny.
Mm-hmm. That would be funny.
Steph.
Stephen, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's going to wind up.
A lot of people pitched the idea of OKC, like just let him
just to go back and finish his career.
Yeah, finish it out there. Maybe that could be a thing.
Sure. This is kind of a fun birthday question here. Random question. What's the latest you guys have stayed up at night for a non-NBA related reasons?
This is the stupidest thing. I think I was in my freshman or sophomore year of high school. It was on a weekend. Me and my friend Nick stayed up and we were playing this game called Gemfire. Gemfire was did you ever play Romance of the Three Kingdoms?
No, I remember
strategy.
Game, but I never got into the RPG games that much.
Yeah, and those were like strategy games where it's like build up and then attack the neighboring kingdom and all this stuff. Right. We Gemfire is very similar, but with like dragons and wizards and all this stuff. It was a video game, to be clear. My mom came in at like 10 and was like, you guys should go to bed soon. We're like, okay, we're just going to finish another couple rounds. Then she came in at 3:30 in the morning and like yelled at us. I was like, go to bed. And we're like, okay. Then we looked up and it was bright and sunny out. And she's like, did you ever go to bed? And we're like, yeah, we just woke up again to start playing again. And we had like stayed up, we probably stayed up, I would guess like 30 to 35 hours straight just playing this stupid game. And it wasn't even that good. We just got super wrapped up into it. But that's got to be the latest and longest I've stayed up for something like that.
I am a night owl to begin with, so it's rare that I go to bed before 3 a.m. between 2 and 3 a.m. typically is when I wind up going to bed. So I'm up late regardless. But I mean, I've pulled all-nighters before. I remember one. I don't remember the topic of the paper, but I remember writing a paper in college where I stayed up all night, walked into class the next morning, set the paper on the professor's desk, and then walked right back out the door and went home and went to sleep. Went, screw, I'm not staying for class today. But I've pulled all-nighters before, so that's.
When I first met my wife and we were getting to know each other, and not in that way, you filthy animals. We would just stay up just talking, and we were laughing about it the other day because it was like 10:15 and both of us were exhausted and we're ready for bed. And I'm like, remember when we would stay up to like 5:30 in the morning, sleep for like a half hour, and then go do like a full day of work? And she was like, yeah, those days are long gone. And I was like, yeah, they're not even close. That's when I feel my age for sure.
Yeah. Yes, 100%. Happy birthday, Keith. You're a great writer and YouTuber. Cheers to a new year.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Regarding the Kawhi issue, can the Raptors revise the trade with the Clips and ask for more draft compensation in order to assume the risk of having Kawhi? Yeah, it's not been a submitted trade. So yeah, absolutely.
Yep. I think that's actually a path to getting that complete is where it is. Mm-hmm. All right, if there's going to be some form of punishment that comes, we'll still do the trade, but instead of sending you 3 firsts, we're only going to send 2 or something like that. I think that could definitely be a way that trade gets pushed over the finish line.
All right. Because it's Keith's birthday, met him at a sports business classroom. Great guy. Also one of my favorite NBA shows and want to show support. Well, thank you.
Well, appreciate thank you very much. We really, really appreciate that. Let me know who you are because I don't remember. The name is not triggering. And who knows with YouTube if those are real pictures or not.
Right.
With that. So.
Jose Bravo, give super chat. Appreciate that. Yeah, somebody, I forget who it was, but had Joe Hendry was his avatar. And until I started watching WWE again, like a couple of years ago, I was just like, oh, this is just that guy. And then I started watching and I'm like, oh, that's actually a pro wrestler.
I had that on Twitter once where they were like, you're arguing that's not who that person, that's like a comedian or something. And I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know who it really was.
Somebody said, how are you a teacher if you're a night owl? Energy drinks. I mean, I found ways.
Put on a movie.
I didn't stay up quite that late when I was teaching, but yeah. If you both were in the Mavs front office, Could I interest you in Wiggins, Jovic, Drew Smith, and picks for Kyrie and Clay?
What picks do the Heat even have?
What picks are we talking about there? Wiggins is interesting. Jovic, I don't know that I want his long-term contract on the books. Drew Smith is a solid defensive piece. I don't know what type of trade value Klay Thompson has. He's an expiring $17 million contract, but my general thought is if I am in the Mavs front office, I want to see what Kyrie and Cooper Flag look like on the floor together first before I'm doing something like this.
Yeah, in the Heat, I just looked it up. They have 1 second-round pick they can trade. They don't have that's the only second-round pick they have, and it is not a great. It's the least favorite. Tell me if this is maybe the worst second-round pick you could have. It is the least favorable of Miami, Houston, and Indiana. All right, that's not great. OKC and San Antonio. So that's that pick
Not
is
great.
in the bottom 3. So yeah, so that stinks. Yeah, that's not gonna be a thing. And then they only have 1 first-round pick they can maybe trade, and that's only if their pick goes to Charlotte this year, which it probably should. It's a lottery or formerly lottery protected, top 14 protected, which that's kind of interesting too. The way now we're going to see picks protection change as well with that.
These teams get used to the new rules. Oh, here we go. You called? Hey, say his name and he appears.
I love that. We have such loyal listeners. They're like, I'm here.
Yep.
Beal and DeRozan going. Oops. I think Beal should go to Detroit. This guy says that's probably not.
And I could see DeRozan winding up in Miami or something. Maybe Cleveland.
Yeah. There was some Beal to Boston stuff out there. He obviously has a very good relationship with Jason Tatum. On a minimum, fine. Okay, sure. Take a shot in the dark that he stays healthy and can give you some scoring off the bench. Why not? But yeah, I don't know. I don't think anybody's picking up Beal for locked in production. DeRozan feels like he should land somewhere with a role. But yeah, Miami and Cleveland, I think, are probably the best.
All right, last one. Then we're going to let Keith go celebrate his birthday. Question on the second apron penalty. Say Denver goes into the second apron and their 2019 pick gets locked at the end of the first round?
That's not how it works. Yeah, the pick, it's 7 years out, and it's your third year in the apron. Is how that works. So you get 1 year in the apron, kind of free, as lack of a better term. Second year, your pick gets frozen, but it's the pick 7 years out. So Cleveland's pick in 2033 is frozen because they were a second apron team 2 years in a row, with last year being the second year. Boston's 2032 is frozen. Minnesota's 2032 is frozen. So they're there. Then that third year, if you're still in, your pick gets moved to the end of the round. But it's that 7th year out pick gets moved to the end of the round. Not your on all frozen picks.
It's not a pick you would have been able to trade.
Exactly. So yeah. So your pick would get frozen and your pick would get moved to the end of the round. So that's where all that kind of lands out. So yeah, it's not an immediate thing. It's a pick you couldn't have traded. It's a pick you would have to own and go. That's kind of how they went there with that. So
all right, we got one more coming in here. Happy birthday, Keith. Thank you for answering my questions on Blue Sky. Great Eastern Conference Summer League notebook. You had the Celtics moves down cold of Hugo Baylor,
Ron Harper Jr.
Ron Harper Jr. I was going, you know what my brain went to? Rondé Hollis Jefferson. That was more where my brain went. I went, what? Who do you think breaks out this year in Boston?
Yeah, Hugo. Yeah. He was really, really good in the World Cup qualifiers, which people are kind of I need some hoops. There is European World Cup qualifiers and some good games coming up. Wemby's actually going to play for France in some of the upcoming games. Those are, I think, next week, at the end of next week. So if you're really dying, courtside 1891. I think it is a subscription service, but I think it's worth what you pay for it. It's really not all that expensive of one.
It's not.
And you get all
that reminds me, mine's going to auto renew soon from last year when Luka was
last
playing.
year with Eurobasket. Eurobasket last year, right?
Yep.
So it's really well worth it because you get a lot of stuff on that one. But yeah, so if you're really like dying, like I need some basketball, like that's probably the last meaningful hoops we're gonna get for men's basketball until we get into the NBA preseason, which I just started putting preseason games on my schedule. I think October 5th. Give a little bit of news with this. I haven't seen this fully out there anywhere. I apologize if it already is. Looks like opening night is definitely going to be October 20th. This year. And then it looks like the trade deadline is going to be February 11th.
Oh,
okay. What it sounds like. So it sounds like they're kind of pushing that back a week, so it's not like right at the very beginning of February. So
that's kind of cool. Do we know when the All-Star break will begin?
Yeah, that's already out there because they do that years in advance. Hold on, I'll tell you. Let's look. NBA key dates. All-Star is the 19th to the 21st.
Okay. I'm asking purely for selfish reasons here, for vacationing reasons. The 19th through the 21st is going to be All-Star, which means probably the last game will be played like the 17th, I would guess.
Probably there, 16th, 17th, I would guess.
Somewhere in there. And then they'll go back to resuming regular season games probably the 23rd, 24th.
Yep. What do we got? Other key things, the NBA Cup final, which is at Hinkle Fieldhouse, where Butler plays. The famous from Hoosiers. That's December 11th this year. The Mexico City game is November 7th. Nuggets and Pacers. Paris game, Spurs and Pelicans, is January 14th. Manchester, England, Spurs and Pelicans is January 17th. And then next summer, so like a year and a month from now, August 27th through September 12th, the FIBA World Cup will be going on. So we got quite a bit. But yeah, it sounds like October 20th opening night, and then it sounds like February 11th for the trade deadline.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good to know. The trade deadline February 11th. That's a late deadline. What was it this year? Was the 6th? Was it?
Yeah, and I think it
was 5th. I think.
Let me let's check one more thing because this shows you how little I'm up on this stuff. Here, whoops, I hit the wrong button. Sorry. I wanted to check when the Super Bowl is, but it's probably, I think they're trying to get it in after the Super Bowl this year. Let's get here. Nope. Super Bowl is the 14th. So, but yeah,
gotta love that.
Yep. So busy week. There we'll have the trade deadline leading into the Super Bowl. So Super Bowl is in California this year, SoFi Stadium.
So the NBA will dominate the news cycle and then will graciously allow the Super Bowl to have a little bit of spotlight a few days later. That's very kind of the NBA to do it.
Nobody watches the NFL.
Yeah.
I wish. So if you're dying for some hoops action, you can get FIBA World Cup qualifiers next week, and then WNBA is heating up. Really good stuff going on. So go Lynx. That's the team I've adopted out of no reason other than I like watching Nafisa Collier play, who just recently returned to the lineup. So
all right.
That was the only reason why I picked them. I watched her playing a game and I was like, she's awesome. I really like the way she plays, and I kind of picked them as the team I root for. But I know they're having a good season, but that is the extent of what I know about the WNBA. We'll know more in August when I have a chance to really watch it. I am the casual Johnny Come Lately fan.
I am not at a point yet. I can't even. I haven't even been able to catch a Dodgers game in ages. I'm not there yet, but I will get there in August, I'm sure.
There you go. All right.
All right, everybody.
Well, we gave you an hour today, guys.
Yep.
Hey, I want to throw out one more quick thing before we wrap up the show. Next week, I do this every year in the beginning of August. I will be putting out there, so I know because you were a teacher, that's what I went to school for. We seem to have quite a few teachers that are always popping up in the chat and the viewers. If you're a teacher and you need classroom supplies and you have an Amazon wish list, I'll be putting out the call on both Twitter and Blue Sky for people to send me links to their wish list, and then I will retweet as many of them as I can. Over the years, followers have really stepped up and delivered a lot of great stuff for the for teachers out there. It's something that I think is absolutely insane and ridiculous that teachers have to spend so much out of their pocket for classroom supplies, but there it is. They do. So if we can try to help them out by clearing the list, we'll do what we can to help out. So I do that every year in the beginning part of August. So we'll do that next week. And people, you get mad about a bunch of retweets. Like, you shouldn't have notifications on for me anyway. You don't need them. I've never broken news like that. But if you get upset, just mute for a week or so, and then we'll get back to normal programming as we go. But we'll be doing that to try to help out teachers as best we can next week with clearing the list.
Always cool that you do that each year, for sure, coming as a former teacher. All right, everybody, we appreciate all of you for joining. Keith, happy birthday.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day, and until next time, everybody, see ya and stay safe.